Hey guys, today I'm going to try to do something slightly different. Today we're looking at this Dazzle game, but we're actually going to look at two Dazzle games. And I'm only going to look up to about 10 minutes. In other words, it'll still take like half an hour for each one. But for this guy, how to improve from 2.3k MMR bracket for a returning player. So you used to be around like 3k or something. Let me see, I'm looking at the post. Yeah, around like 3.3k, but you took a break, and now you're back. You feel like you're losing a lot more, which first I'll say is totally normal, right? If you take a break, especially, the game is pretty different since last time you played. For example, tri-laning was more common when you played, I think, if my time frame in my mind is correct. And nowadays 2v2 lanes are a lot more common, and actually tri lanes are like just coming back into flavor. So of course you're going to play a lot worse, and even if you like, I see that you said you feel like you kind of know the heroes except for some of the newer ones, but based on what I saw, because I briefly watched 10 minutes of like two games, I mean, I believe you, like you probably know, like Pudge hooks, this kind of stuff, but based on how it looks from watching the game, it feels like it's very surface level knowledge. Like you understand what the hero does, but then you need to like get to the next level of like, because this is how the hero works, this is how I will play to take advantage of that. And that's kind of what you need to do as, well, any player really, but a support especially, because support heroes tend to be stronger in the early game than the later game. And that's why I'm going to look at the first 10 minutes, because if you fail to have any form of impact as a support player in like the first 10 minutes, then it's going to be a lot harder to have any impact later in the game, because you are meant to be stronger at the start. That's why your support heroes are support heroes and carry heroes are carry heroes. Anything else I need to say from your post? Oh, I will say, feeling like your teammates won't make use of vision. This is a very common feeling for a lot of support players, right? If you truly do have map awareness and your teammates don't, that's good enough, because there's a great thing in this game called communication. Mic is a lot better than like typing it, because if you're typing, you're not playing. But if you see someone happening, right? We're looking at the minimap. Can you see my mouse? Here we go. If you see, like, you have a ward here and you see someone walking this way, you can say, hey, this person is going to the bottom lane, or something like that. And you have to assume all the players in your game are similar to you. Of course, there's going to be some variance, but oh, I forgot to say, this is like a Guardian whatever. Actually, this is a huge variety. I'm going to assume this is party MMR. Guardian like 5 or something. Yeah, here. But like if I told you, hey, there's a hero coming to your lane, you're going to be like smart enough to know, okay, I'll be more careful. So if you can do that, like if you can make use of the vision, then it's totally worth buying the wards, and don't feel like you should skip out on them. So having said that, we're going to go into this game now. I don't like spam Dazzle. It looks like Dazzle is your favorite hero from your Dota buff profile, and we're going to improve your Dazzle, because I did see some stuff that I didn't like with it. And if we can improve your favorite heroes, right? Like, you don't need to change your hero pool if you want to improve. If you're playing heroes you like, and I'm going to assume you like Dazzle, then that's fine. But it also shows me, like, if this hero that you like and have played a lot has, like, holes in the way you're playing it, then heroes you don't like are going to be, like, even worse than that. So we're going to start by improving someone you like, and you can, like, rock out with that, gain some confidence, and you'll learn like a bit more that can apply to like other heroes. So starting off right away, I don't like this item build. Iron. The first time I looked, I was confused. I was like, "Where's all your gold?" I think you gave a sentry to Viper. That is a sentry and a ward. So I'm assuming you bought courier, both wards, 2 sentries, and then with the remaining money, you bought 1 set of tangos, which you shared one with Viper, clarity, and 2 iron branches. So I don't like this because this is very low regen, and laning is a lot more important now than when you last played. 2 tangos is just not enough. If you bought 2 sets of tangos, then you can share 2 with Viper, and you'll still have 4 tangos. If you share one with Viper, and hopefully your other support shares the other one, then you have 5 tangos, and that's great. But 2 is just not enough, right? Imagine, ideally, you'd like to stay alive, right, and be in the lane till about 5 minutes, right? So do you think you can stay in the lane with just 2 tangos if there's like constant fighting and stuff? If the enemy is bad, maybe. But if they're competent, then no. And so that's why this is like just too little. And if you don't have regen, you're just like useless in the lane. Now, Dazzle does have a heal, which is helpful, and that's why like clarities. I was a little harsh on clarities in the past. I'm a big fan of mangoes, but clarities are like coming back a bit. So I'm like okay with 1 clarity, but I just feel like it's just not enough. And then the other thing is like the sentry to Viper. Like if you didn't give that, you would have enough to buy a salve or another tango, something like that. I'm assuming the sentry is for Bounty Hunter, but the way Bounty Hunter is played nowadays, he doesn't roam nearly as much. He kind of just like sits in the same lane and keeps hitting someone, and he at least won't rotate till he's like level 2 or 3. So you don't need the sentry right away. You can buy regen, and then with the starting gold from the bounties or passive gold after a minute, buy a sentry, put it on the courier, and just tell Viper, hey, the sentry is in the courier, take it there. And that way you'll have more regen. Because you can't call on regen, right? You have to assume the courier is going for the mid lane like the whole time. Iron branches too, I feel like they're okay. But in this case, I would like sell one of these for like another set of tangos or something if you still wanted to buy both sentries. Okay, moving forward. You run into lane, and this is the other thing. You're bringing a ward to your lane. I say this, I've noticed this in a lot of my games, so I think this is just something that people aren't fully thinking of. But you're buying a ward for your lane to see the lane. You don't want the enemy team to know the ward is there, right? So you have to place it right away. That's why I liked that you left pretty quickly from the base, but now you're just going to sit here instead of like looking around as much, and you're not placing your ward, you know? And especially against a bounty hunter, who they don't start invis anymore, and Monkey King is pretty uncommon for them to start like leap, so that they're probably not in the trees. They're probably like on the ground, but possibly, right? It's a little scary to place a ward against these two. But honestly, he probably doesn't have invis. He's probably not in the trees. So you should be safe to like quickly run out here and place a ward here. Let's see, this game. Yeah, I think a ward out here would be fine. Or maybe like somewhere here would work too. But instead you're just like holding on to it. And now they're going to come into lane and they're going to see that you have like the ward and the sentry. And you're still just sitting here. Nothing happening. And see, this is kind of the other thing I don't like. Your Q is really good. But you have to auto attack to refresh it, right? 16 damage for 4 seconds, about 80. 70-ish damage. And they had to nerf Dazzle. He was too good, right? So it used to be like 80 mana or something for this spell. Now it's 110. So 110 mana for like 70 damage is not great. But you know what's really cool about this spell is you auto attack once and it refreshes up to 4 seconds, right? So if you use it, it goes down 1 second, you auto attack them, it starts another full 4 seconds, so the total duration would be 5 seconds. But there's no limit. You can just keep hitting them, continuously refreshing, constantly getting more damage. And that's why Dazzle is such a good lane bully, and why I think that if you like Dazzle, you can just play him in this MMR and just bully people out of lane. You don't have crowd control, but you're a great healer and saver, and you're also a great lane bully. That's like Dazzle's strength. And right now is like when you should just be running at these melee cores. You Q him and you just like chase him away with poison touch and your auto attacks. And if they tried to trade with you, Monkey King is a little scary. Of all the heroes you could possibly man fight at level 1, Monkey King is tough because of Jingu Mastery. But if you click him, you would see he doesn't have an Orb of Venom. And right now he's like super fast because he's in a courier mode, but he's usually not that fast, right? So if you have slowed them and you're ranged, you should be able to Q any melee core and then just run at them and auto attack. If they chase you, it like varies by core. You either sit there and like trade because you're trading just auto attacks and your spell, so you're gonna win, or you back away and then only turn to auto attack to make sure the duration still goes, right? So you run away like 3 seconds, turn around, auto attack, and then keep running away. And then when they decide to stop chasing you, you immediately turn around and then chase them and auto attack again. And so right now you're just not doing that, and it would be great to do that right now. And this is the other thing. Why did you place this sentry? Or let me ask instead, why did you buy the sentry, right? Your idea was that Bounty Hunter has invis and I want to see him in lane or doing something. This sentry covers like up to here, right? And the lane is over here. So although I know you like, you're trying to secure this rune, I'm guessing, and so you like thought to place this, and this will be useful for like 10 seconds, right? 10 seconds till this rune spawns, and then it's not useful. And this thing lasts like 6 minutes now, right? Yeah. So you put 75 gold for 10 seconds of use, and it's not going to help in your lane at all. And you don't have regen, right? You traded being able to afford more regen for that sentry. So you have to remember like why you bought the sentry and not just like place it here, because if you did want the sentry for your lane, like eventually he will get invis probably, but now like you're just not gonna see him. You're not even gonna see him like go invis and rotate mid unless you put your ward here now, and maybe you will. I don't know. I don't really remember where you place this ward level 1 actually, but like, is that worth it? You know. And you start heal. So like I went into all that talk. I don't like, I really dislike starting level 1 heal. I just feel like for everything I explained on how good this spell is for bullying people out, this just does not do it. It heals 80 damage or 90 mana. And that's just not like great. Compared to like doing 75 damage for like nothing, right? That's not even considering refreshing the duration. And this is also really bad. It's going to work out for you because they also block their creeps, but this could have been potentially really bad. And I'm going to show you why in a second once you see. Okay, so the tower is here, right? You blocked your creeps. What could have very much happened if they didn't block their creeps at all, which I checked earlier when I watched. They blocked a little bit. In fact, we can rewind and show it. So right here, he blocks his creeps a little bit, and this saves you. It also saves you that your range creep was first, so it stopped moving, as opposed to like having a melee creep up front. Well, actually, that part doesn't matter as much. But see how close this is to the tower? If they hadn't blocked their creeps, it would have immediately gone under tower, making last hitting extremely difficult when level 1, he doesn't have his Quelling Blade yet, right? He shouldn't. Yeah, he doesn't have it yet. And even if he did, it's still difficult. Level 1 to last hit under tower while creeps are hitting it and possibly the enemy heroes is extremely difficult. So, and at this MMR, we're just going to assume he misses every single last hit. And most of your creeps won't die in that time. And it's going to push. One of the videos I recently did demonstrated this. I don't remember which one though. But that's really bad for you. Like right off the bat, you have thrown the wave into like, it'll end up around here by the time the creeps die and the next creep wave shows up. It ends up like here or here, depending how fast it goes. And just to demonstrate what I was talking about, they didn't block their lane at all. And this is how close it meets to the tower. This is like scary how close it is to being what I just described. In fact, if the enemy hero comes here and like aggroes them and messes up creep equilibrium, these creeps end up going under tower and you get what I just talked about. If you're going to block any creeps, honestly, you should block their creeps a little bit to like get it to come out a little further. Your spot is actually quite nice. Their spot is just like, this is how scary it is. And he didn't block at all, right? So if only you had blocked, these would have definitely come under the tower. So you just don't want to block your creeps anymore unless you see them block their creeps, right? And you know how you could have seen that? If you had placed your ward here right away, and you can see if they like start blocking their creeps around here. In this case, I guess you still wouldn't have seen it because he started blocking his creeps here. But if you see them start to, like, they're going to go for runes, and then maybe they'll come try to block their creeps. So by the time that happens, usually it's around here, and then you can see that they're trying to block their creeps, and then you can start trying to block your creeps, and so that it ends up somewhere around here instead of what you did, which was just like preemptively and blindly block, and it just happened to work out for you. So this is the other reason I don't like heal, right? Every time you use it, you're going to push the lane into their favor by healing your creeps, damaging these creeps. And yeah, you trade a bit of damage, right? You heal your alk and damage their creeps a little bit. But honestly, they shouldn't like be surrounded by your creeps. They should only be like walking into last hit. So it's uncommon you're ever going to do that much damage. I might be okay with it if you had a hero like Naga or PL, right? Where you like heal bomb them. It's a classic, but you don't. So Q is just a lot better. Right now, what you could do, you could like walk up to here. Maybe over here is a little better. But actually, Bounty Hunter was like right here, so you would just Q him and then chase him. And if he tries to turn around, again, walk away or man fight, either one. But so right now, I just feel like you're having a lot less effect than you could have with the Q start. So we're not gonna hold on to it too much, because if I just keep going on to it, like it doesn't cover anything new. Oh, I should be in your perspective, actually. You had the right idea there, so I'm not going to go into it. You missed it, but you had the right idea of at least trying to use a spell to secure the creep, which is good.
Radiant's mid tower's coming apart.
So this is where you could pull. I skipped something. This is what I usually like define how you should win in a game right at the start. I forgot to do that this time. This time you have a safe lane alch, which I don't love, but whether your alchemist is safe lane or mid, the idea is the same. He wants to farm, right? And he really benefits from farming because of he's alchemist, which I'm sure you know how he works. So you want to stack a lot, as much as you can. Small camps, medium camps. I mean, it's first minute, right? So you couldn't have stacked, but that's kind of be, since he doesn't like, if you have a safe lane out, he never does well. Maybe, but usually he shouldn't do well because like, what does he contribute to the lane? One spell that pushes the lane, right? And his other spell he's going to be leveling is his passive to get more gold. So alchemists tend to struggle in the safe lane a bit, which is why they're usually mid. And to help him recover from that, you need to stack a lot. And even if he does okay, you still need to stack a lot because that's how alchemist functions and how you get ahead as alchemist. So we're going to be looking for that in these first 10 minutes if you're going to stack it all for him. Which I don't think you do too much, but I could be wrong. Your luck out, they put their ward here, but I mean, that doesn't necessarily justify the sentry, I feel like. Again, that's something like it happened to work out, just like how blocking your creeps happened to work out. I don't want to like strictly encourage that behavior just because it like happens to work out. I want to point out that it's unideal, and if it works out, that's great. But you know, just know like sometimes that's not always going to happen, and then that sentry would be like pretty useless. Going for a stack here, I like that. So now you have your Q, right? See, that would be great, but you like give up chasing. You should just like keep going, get the full use out of your spell. Speeding up a bit. Okay, you looking to pull? Hope you are. See, another great chance. Q and just fight him. Once he uses his passive, which is a 12-second cooldown to start, he's just like not great. And in fact, this is an excellent time to do it because these creeps are really close. So if he decides to man fight you, the creeps are going to come join in, and you're definitely going to win the trade. Also, between these two targets, this is like starting to like get into that, like, you know, the heroes, but like how well, like that advanced level. Before I pointed out which of these heroes is a better target for your Q. If you started playing the way I talked about, level 1 Q, and you could only pick one of them to Q, who would you pick? The answer is Monkey King. Do you know why? Monkey King, ignore the fact he's standing in here. Monkey King has a lot less armor than a Bounty Hunter does, level 1. So Bounty Hunter right now is at a 28 resistance, and let's let Monkey King walk out of that. Get out of there, Monkey King. So at 1, he has 7%, right? So you're just getting a lot more damage off against a Monkey King. If you have the ability, if you're only choosing one, right? Ideally, Q can hit 2 people, so if they're next to each other, you get both. And then I would only chase one target, because if you try to like chase both, odds are they'll both, like, do you want 2 heroes that are at like 2/3 health, or do you want one hero full health and the other hero like 1/3 health? That 1/3 health is at risk of dying, so they're going to be a lot safer, and then you bully like the full health guy, and then you trade. Whereas if you get them to 2/3 and then you try to like bully both of them again, they may just turn on you. So if you have the choice, if you hit 2 targets, that's great, but focus on one. And if you can only choose one, like, that's figure out who has less armor to get the full use out of your Q. I don't like this. You're buying this for your lane, I'm assuming, right? Because you used your other one earlier, and they dewarded it. It looks like, based on this minimap. I don't know if that's a replay thing. I certainly hope you don't use it to place it here again, because it's not going to do anything for you, right? You want it in this lane. And the other thing, this can be bought in the side shop, so there's no need to, like, yes, you're calling this courier already for sentry, which I don't love, and you wouldn't have needed to do if you saved your sentry for here. But even though you're already going to call it, like, you can buy this in the side shop, so why spend extra time without it? But I actually don't like this purchase either, because both of these guys kind of just rely on their passives in the lane, and they're not going to cast spells that much, so you're not going to get like any value out of it. Instead, both of them are actually almost all physical damage, right? So what would be a great item to buy? Close that. Either a Ring of Protection, which happens to also be in the side shop, so you could get that there. Or if you should build a medallion generally. This game, take a quick look at itemize. So unfortunately, this game, medallion isn't as great, because like this guy is like half magic, and these guys aren't like traditional like physical damage dealers right now. He will later, but honestly his damage is still a bit of mix of magic and right click. It's still nice this game to buff your team, because they're so physical damage based. So if you get a medallion, I would be using it defensively more than offensively. It depends on the situation, of course. It's still fine to use offensively. Point is, if you decide to get a medallion, it's really nice as on Dazzle in general, and the chainmail is just really good against these 2 physical dealers. Guess what? Chainmail also in the side shop. So these are just like a lot of things you could buy that don't require the courier, and you should generally just like try to avoid using the courier if you can, or try to like combo the use, like let mid laner use it first and then grab it from him afterwards. But the more you can buy without needing to use the courier, the better. Ring of Basilius is also nice as an early laning stage item, because again it's got this armor, and it also shares with your team, and it gives you mana regen, and if you have mana you have heals on Dazzle. And again, they're just really physical based. When did you just use your Q? Did I miss that? So the same thing, I've already repeated it, right? I'm just going to point it out that it happens. You Q him, but he walks away and you're not really able to chase him. So admittedly, it would be a little difficult to chase him because this Monkey King rushes in, but possibly... Well, let's look at it again real quick. I don't love it because the way bounty hunters play lane nowadays, they run in, hit you with their passive, and just walk out every time. And he's also not the one last hitting, right? So I get that he comes really aggressively forward, but in this case, it's difficult to like Q him and then only chase him because Monkey King is just going to hit you, right, and get his passive and then kill you probably, unless you then run away. So I would much prefer to see it go on the Monkey King, because if he decides to run away, at least he's going to miss some last hits. And if he decides to man fight, you can back away, turn around, all that deal again, right? And in fact, look, you do trade a little bit. Imagine if the Q was on him. Part of that was because he was in this Alchemist. So that part does synergize quite nicely, actually. That Alchemist subtracts armor and you subtract armor. I'm not going to blame you for this, since it's hard to know when your carries call it. But if you could have put your items on the courier when Alk is going to get it, that would be really nice, right? So that the courier just makes one trip. That's just like... I don't know if that's a kill you should get usually, but it does work out for you, so it's fine. This is why I like Dazzle, actually. It's because you can get these aggressive kills. But usually they're off your Q and not so much your heal. Again, for same reasons, I much prefer 2 points in Q, 1 in E. Q is self-explanatory, right? It does more damage, hits more targets, and the duration's a little longer, so it's easier to keep it going refreshed. Cast range, all that, it's not a big deal. Heal I don't like, because why do you get heal on Dazzle, right? It's to heal your carry, and the heal only goes from 80 to 100, so it's like 20 more health. That's not that great, right? It also deals damage, or it adds on another, so from 4 to 5 targets, which is kind of nice, but also worrisome, right? Because every time you use your heal on Dazzle, if you're near the creeps, you end up pushing the lane. And so with that extra target, what that does is like it pushes your lane faster. And maybe you do like a bit more damage if like they're standing amid the creeps for some reason, but they really shouldn't be. If that happens a lot in this MMR, I guess, like I don't play that many games in this MMR, humble brag. If you feel like that happens a lot and it's worth getting your E, I guess you can go for it. But I really, like, I think getting multiple levels in Q is like much better, and you're not at risk of pushing your lane that much. Level 4, I would get 1 point in Grave, and then that way like they can never dive you or your carry. And like again, this just doesn't add that much value. And I would max this first. Because this is like your kill spell in low MMRs, right? This would be my like IQ people and just run at them. Buy a Blight Stone. If they had chosen to dive, that's where like the 1 point. Well, you're not 4 yet, so it didn't matter. But what was I gonna say? Oh, a Blight Stone is also quite nice to buy on Dazzle early, just because you get like a bit more damage. Your spell is physical actually, so it like combines with your right clicks and your whatever. I was like distracted while that happened. Is this your fault? I don't think so. He's just low, and he decides to go in. Yeah. I don't blame you for not having a point in Grave yet. Though if you weren't going to get a second point in Poison Touch, I probably would get a point in Grave instead of the second point in Shallow. But I would probably be like 2-0-1. You haven't stacked yet. You've kind of been in lane a lot, so I don't really blame you. It's unfortunate, though. This is kind of weird because you just saw Bounty Hunter walk by invis, and then you call the Flying Courier towards you anyways. And Bounty Hunter can one-shot it with 2 points in his passive, so it's like it's not worth it. Or just like be careful with it, like let it go this way, send it further up, and then to you or something like that. But you like saw him walking by, and then you still called it, which is suspect. Stack, 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 stack. Not gonna comment on it because I'm sure once I point it out, it's obvious, right? That's not your fault because you weren't even in lane, which maybe you should be in lane, right? Because you weren't really doing anything. You like walked over to help out your Viper a bit, Shrine, and then after that, you didn't stack, so then there was like really no point in you being there. So if you're not at least gonna get the stack off, and then that's Alchemist's fault for being too far out, then you might as well like be in lane to like help prevent like this kind of stuff. Look at that, 30 minutes. We're gonna go a little faster because there's not that much else happening like after this. It's where like 1 point in the grave is nice. At this point, you guys have kind of lost the lane because like you just Alchemist is like really not going to contribute anything to lane except for his like surprise like minus armor if they're like dumb enough to stand in his acid spray. So you really need to bully them out with your Q early, and since that hasn't happened and Alchemist hasn't been playing the best, Monkey King and Bounty Hunter have like established their lead essentially, and you haven't really been stacking that much to help him recover. So I don't like this either. Let's see what you do for a bit. You ward, put a sentry, which are nice things to do, but was it teleport level urgent, right? This is why like 1 point in grave is nice, because if someone gets dove, you TP and you grave them, right? You buy yourself, what is it, level 1? Oh, it's 5 seconds the whole time. But you buy yourself 5 seconds, which you could Q them. Your E probably won't do that much, but since they're probably trying to get a kill, you like it's a like 160 switch, right? You heal your person being dove 80, and you damage the guy right-clicking on top of him by 80, and you Q them. If they're being dove, they're under tower, maybe they're taking tower hits, your grave like buys that, buy some time, and you might get a turnaround, or at least the enemy will like pay a hefty price for getting that kill. But now you can't do that because you don't have a teleport, right? Being able to teleport is like extremely important on the support, so you should just walk as much as you can, especially because you got boots. You're fast now, right? 355, pretty good. So like, was this urgent to teleport here and place it? No, just like walk out and do it. Not doing so much now either, right? You're just like sitting there watching these guys farm. These guys need to catch up, and you're just like sitting there stealing XP. What you really should be doing now that Alchemist has left lane is just like hiding in these trees, or like hiding over here and getting at least some XP from the wave, occasionally using E on it to secure some like ranged last hits or like some melee creeps, damage them a little bit, right? And because you would have 1 point in your shallow grave, and you're like standing pretty defensively back here, it's like very safe for you to do. If they dive you, you grave and possibly TP out. They do have ways to cancel it. Against certain heroes they wouldn't, so you can grave and TP out. If they use their stuns early, like grave lasts 5 seconds, so if you grave and they use their stun or something, then maybe you can try to TP out, or otherwise you just like run in the trees and just buy time. If they kill you, it's not that big of a deal. You're just a support, right? And you're getting some XP and gold from being in this lane, slowing down the push because you're able to like E the wave, possibly Q it, depending. Alternatively, you could like pull the camp, which would be a little risky because they might take this tower a bit faster. But at least that way you would also farm a little bit. But the carry should probably be farming the small camp since he's like had to leave. So really what I said first of like just being here is probably the best thing you could do, or coming bottom, helping them out, because Ricky is doing all right, Pudge is doing okay. Pudge will have an easier time landing hook if you slow someone, right? Or if he gets on top of them between his rot slow and your Q slow, you guys are just like literally run someone down, right? You just keep whoop, 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 walking next to him, heal. If they try to turn, you grave whoever he goes on. You guys could just get kills bottom, is essentially what I'm saying, if you came down there. But instead you're just like sitting here doing nothing. And you didn't even like stack, right? So you just like literally doing nothing. You're just like waiting for Bounty Hunter to come in, and so you can try to turn it. But you don't have dust either, so if he just walks out of sentry range like that, then like you don't get anything. If you did have dust, you could possibly get a kill, but you don't. So there's like really, like if you're baiting for him to come into the sentry, you need to have dust to like follow up and commit to the kill. You guys do get the Mirana kill, but I don't know if you should have. I feel like she could have just backed out. And this is really bad. Like, Null Talisman does nothing for you as a support. If you're checking like Dota buffs or whatever these guides are, if you see a Null Talisman, it's for carry Dazzle. When he's like mid or off lane, very rarely safe lane core, but never as a support. I already covered some good items, right? The Ring of Basilius would be equivalent price, almost, about the same. And then it would give you mana regen and armor, which would be really nice this game. And it's for your whole team, like support player, right? Urn, also pretty good if you want to get that. It's pretty nice this game because it prevents Monkey King from blinking. And it gives you some armor, you know. It's not that great against these heroes as a soul vessel, to be honest, but it's like an okay item. Just saving up for arcane boots, building a casual bracer if you want more health to survive their burst damage, going for medallion. This would actually be what I would probably recommend this game. Yeah, I would probably... I would have gotten medallion this game because I probably would have been playing more aggressively at the start and been like buying this item as I went. Like not buying this wand, this would be like a Blight Stone, or bullying them out more and probably getting like a kill or something and using that medallion to continue to play aggressively and contest this lane. Like I think you guys could contest this lane still at this point if you had played like more aggressively at the start with your Q and building towards like a medallion to help you do that. But whatever you build, whether it's a wand, anything, like a bracer is better than Null Talisman because it gives you magic resist and strength, which just like helps you out. The Null Talisman gives you a little bit of intelligence more, but it's just like not that. It's not that good. It's not. It's like a bit more mana, 100 maybe, right? Yeah, about 100, and like a wand gives you half of that. And arcanes would give you a lot more. This would give you mana regen. Another reason armor is really nice instead of like pure health on Dazzle is because when you heal, like it increases your effective health more. We're about to hit the 10-minute mark, and you're not like you're kind of like dealing with mid, which I guess is good. But in this downtime, you could go stack a camp or get in position for this bounty rune, and those would be really good. Let's call it quits there because it's 10 minutes, and I feel like I pointed out enough things to see where that didn't go great. Mainly just not playing aggressively enough with Q, and also not stacking for your alchemist at several opportunities. Now we're going to watch this game that you actually win as Dazzle, and we're going to see if like the things you did poorly in that first game, like why they don't matter in the second game, or like what you do differently. And part of it is the draft right away. So in that last game you had an alchemist, right? And he doesn't synergize that well with the like physical right click, right? He wants to farm a lot. He's not like say a PA or something with you who just has like way more physical damage and you can play early and fast. Or like an Ursa, a great buddy to have for like physical damage. Taking a look at your build, it's very similar. And I don't like this. If you want to be greedy, you had a lot of you had 210, right? If you don't buy these iron branches and buy a Blight Stone instead, I would like that. It's bold, but it can pay off this game because you have an Ursa who you have poison touch. If Ursa's really fast, so he'll be okay anyways. He'll be able to keep up with people that you've slowed anyways, and even people that you haven't slowed, he can probably keep up with. But if he had gotten an Orb of Venom instead of, say, these two, he should never buy a Quelling Blade from base, right? You guys could get kills level 1, like, right off the bat. You Q someone and you both run at them, you would kill them. What can they do, right? Your Q is constantly ticking, getting refreshed, and Ursa is stacking up Fury Swipes. If they try to fight, they're gonna die unless they have multiple heroes up there.
It's in the bag.
Think even Monkey King, but I'm not totally sure. Jingu is pretty good, but I think he's the. It's kind of weird, this game, actually. I think he's the mid. I would put him mid, Slardar off lane, Lifestealer safe, 5-4. So I would assume your lane is like these two. Oops, onto you. And this circlet just doesn't add a lot compared to Blight Stone. Let's see, you have 3. Who has... So Blight Stone removes 2 armor, right? Let's take a look at... She has 1 armor, so it's... Oh, she's about 2, right? I'm pointing on the screen with my finger, but you can't see it. But if you look right below defense, I'm pointing on this screen now too instead. I can't move my mouse because otherwise we lose that, right? But you can see, like, right around here, 1.9 armor, essentially 2 armor, right? And she has 9 physical resistance. So if you don't know, the way armor works is from 0, 1 point makes the biggest difference. Then 2 points, pretty big difference. 3 points, pretty big difference. But then from like 3 to 4 and like onwards, it's like much less. So like diminishing returns is what I'm saying. And when the game starts, a lot of heroes have quite low armor. So a Blightstone, like in this case, is essentially a 10% increase to damage for you, right? Your physical attacks, your poison touch, both doing 10% more, which is a lot better than, like, in your right click alone, 10% more is like 5 more damage on average, right? Compared to Circlet, which is giving you 2 more damage. And then that's not even taking into account your spell or the fact that it helps out Ursa as well. Ursa now does like 5, a little less than 5 more. But then considering Fury Swipes is physical, boom, value, right? And then it builds into a fast medallion, so on, so on. Someone like Slardar, who's still in base and has like 11. So see, it's like 40%. But at this point, it's still roughly 5% for each. If you need a rough value, it's about 5% per armor. And so being able to subtract 2 armor would be roughly about, 10%. And that's just a lot better than the Circlet. The only reason you would ever build Circlet first is if you're going to build like a really fast urn and buy like a Ring of Protection in the side shop and then the recipe and whatever from the base later at 3 minutes. But this is a decent urn game, actually. If you wanted to do that, go for it. But I like the Blightstone thing way more. And I have a feeling you're not going to rush urn. Very few people do. Same thing again, right? This is one of those... This is another thing that tells me, like, you know heroes, but you don't do... Like, you need the next level of, like, this is how I play against that hero. So you... Again, the ward thing, right? Gonna point that out again. Go back to you. There you go. You see Pudge, and you back away. That is not what you should do to Pudge. Why? Let's look at your move speeds. 308. This guy, 327. Pudge. Oh, Pudge is 302. You're 308. Oh, wait. Okay, I may have messed that up in my head between what I was talking and saying. But you're about the same movement speed as Pudge, but a little faster. Ursa's much faster. And if you noticed, 0 armor, 0.2, sure, right? So, let's pretend... Oh, and no wonder why he was so fast. I was like, I know he's slower, isn't that, like, I didn't think it was 302. He started Windlace, which Pudge is one of the few people that can do it. And in this case, he's actually still slower than you. If he hadn't started Windlace, he would be at, like, 280, okay? So you'd be both significantly faster than him, plus you're going to slow him with your Q. We're going to assume that he made the next level play and knew he was going to get slowed, so he needed the move speed, and that's why he bought Windlace. But it can still work out for you. He has no armor. You both do physical damage. If you had bought that Blight Stone instead, but even without it, you can both kill this Pudge right now. You Q him and you run at him. Look how far out he is. He has to run so far. The second you see him, you should both sprint at him and kill him. But instead you, like, back off and play, like, scared. But why? What are you scared of? Is he going to hook you and then hook you again in 30 seconds? whatever. If Slardar is there, it's a little scarier, but if they huddle up to each other, like he Qs you into like Slardar they're hitting, boom, both of them get hit by your Q. You and Ursa probably can man fight. Slardar's bash is pretty good, but I'm pretty sure Slardar bash, like Pudge would not add a lot after hooking. So between Slardar bash versus Ursa's Fury Swipes at early levels, I think Fury Swipes will win. Then that's not even taking into account you being there, right? Slardar, good amount of starting armor, and 6. And Stout Shield. So your target would be Pudge, and you alone can deal with Pudge. Even if Ursa doesn't come in, you can Q him and chase him. And that's like having that impact as support. Your matchup against Pudge is really good for you. You could bully him out by yourself, and that would be like having impact. See right here, Q him, auto attack. Look how far you could chase him. It'd be so good. Do you guys just not share a ward with mid this time? I guess not. That's also kind of bad. Should really help the... Well, at this MMR, maybe it doesn't matter as much. I don't know. But you should be buying 2 sets anyway, so it doesn't matter. And again, blocking. Let's see if it hurts you this time. No, because he also blocked, right? But again, you didn't know that because you didn't put your ward out here to spot it. So again, it's working out for you, but it really shouldn't be. I don't know, maybe this is like next level where you know, maybe you've been watching, maybe in these games people block a lot in the off lane, I guess. But if they are, I think that's what you should be using your ward for, is to see it happening and then blocking yours. I kind of wish one of these games had ended here to demonstrate what I'm talking about. So this game is naturally much better for you, right? Because Ursa pairs much better than Alchemist with you, and if you don't stack this game, it's not as big of a deal because Ursa doesn't farm stacks very well. Kunkka and Underlord are pretty good at it, but like it's not as big of a deal as if you had an Alchemist in your lane. Like, look how low this guy is. Imagine if you had Q. You could be getting early kills. That's what I love with Dazzle, right? You threaten kills right away, level 1, but you're like throwing that away by starting with E. Getting hooked is like unfortunate. Should you be in position to be hooked? I kind of feel like against a Pudge you should know to always be wary, and since you can't see him, you have to know he's like standing in that area. What are you looking at? I guess you just like weren't moving your screen. I would be like, you gotta see what's happening, right? But in this case, like, because you were looking up here and you didn't know where Pudge is, I would be like looking a little lower to try to like see where he is, or like see the hook coming sooner and then like clicking to your hero. I can't do it in this game, in replays. But just knowing that once he goes out of sight here, he's probably here looking for a hook. That's what Pudge does, right? This is again the next level of like, I know Pudge can hook. What's the next level of that? Don't be in positions that he's going to be looking for. So you know he's going to be looking for it, but you're standing here when the creeps are here. If you stand on this side, then the creeps are like protecting you. And if you thought he was standing over here, then you stand over here. But like watching which side he goes onto from the vision your creeps give you will let you know, like, should I be left or right? Or should you be here at all, right? What were you even contributing? You were just like watching Ursa chase it. You should go like pull, right? If we go a little further back, 50 minutes. If we go back, right, once it's here, although your Q and Ursa are very good, probably can't kill them underneath this tower, right? So you want to get it back again so that you threaten to kill them. In fact, being near this tower is just scary against a Pudge, right? So this would be the time to like go pull instead of standing here and healing, that kind of stuff. That hook was pretty wide though. Fact, the Pudge hook hitbox expands at the end of the hook. So that's why sometimes you see it do some weird stuff where it like goes forward and then it like looks like it moves to the right to pull you in. It's because the hitbox expands at the very end. So that's kind of why you got grabbed there. So now that it's like fully under tower, now I think you realize you should pull. So kind of like recognize it a little sooner. Like, oh, the wave is pushing, I should look for it. Oh, but you actually went to stack, which I don't love. Stacking this hard camp isn't great for you because it's easier for them to make use of this hard camp, right? Pull their creep wave into it, and because it's a double hard camp, it'll probably kill the creep wave really quickly before you can get there. So they've now successfully denied XP, and you haven't been able to do anything, and the creep wave comes back to them. Or, like, even if you do pull it, they have an easier time contesting, coming over here, getting the XP, and also Ursa, like, just doesn't clear stacks very quickly. Fortunately, neither do they. In fact, none of their team clears stacks very well. So in that case, maybe this is the next level of play of, like, if I stack this camp, they can't contest it, and eventually Kunkka or Underlord will come get it. But I don't love that for the main reason of they can pull this camp easier and deny all the XP before you have a chance to do anything. Again, Magic Stick, not that great this lane because they just don't cast spells that much. It's a little better than last lane, though. But if you were, like, rushing Medallion, I would like that a lot more. Or, like, a Boots quickly to be able to avoid hooks. It's not your fault that he got hooked, but again, pointing out, like what I just talked about, right? We saw Pudge disappear, and you should know. In this case, your teammate should know, right? But he was still standing here instead of, like, on this side. So just that kind of stuff. My hair looks so dumb. I keep seeing, like, video. I don't know why I look so bad. I just look bad. Stacking a third time. This is just, like, making it even worse of what I said. Of, like, now they're gonna die immediately. This Hellbear is gonna clap these fools, and they're all gonna die right off the bat. And with the Dark Satyr here, it's super hard to ever kill these things, right? Because they heal up. This lane's not going as well as it should for you right now. I don't know how you feel about it, but you guys should be able to get, like, a lot of kills in this lane. Straight off level 1, right, out here, that kind of stuff. In fact, level 1, I would encourage you guys, if you leave base immediately, I would be like, Ursa, come stand with me right here. Because the second you see Pudge, like, roam up here, or, like, this would be the dream if he comes up here, because you definitely kill him. If he comes here, he might get away, because this is, like, fairly close, but there's a good chance you kill him. Ursa standing in front of you, you standing behind, Q immediately, Ursa start chasing, especially if he had gotten an Orb of Venom. But it's understandable if he doesn't want to start an Orb. But, like, in this space, I think there's a good chance you kill a Pudge. Even if it's Slardar, you bully him, 50% of his health gone, right? He's not as brave to come contest the waves, right? Because you did 50% in that first engagement, you could do the second 50% in the second engagement. So he has to be scared and heal up. So right now, I don't feel like this lane is going as well for you as it should be. But you guys are, like, doing okay. But you have to think of, like, what it could be instead. Denying, that's good. Deny this range creep. Die it. Oh, you did get 2 this time. I like that more. Why didn't you guys chase that more, actually? What happened? Okay, so you know Pudge is here, right? And this is, like, the clear gap for it. So if you want to help him out, I would actually be standing more over here because you're keeping all the creeps in between you. And this also happens to be a better, like, aggressive position. It happens to be nearer to the enemy. Sometimes you don't want to do that, right? Sometimes you want to be, like, more here if you're trying to play defensively. In this case, I would also be okay with it being here. But because you guys are so scary, like, if they try to go on you, it just so happens this matchup, Dazzle and Ursa versus Slardar and Pudge, I favor you guys, right? So if Slardar tries to initiate on you, I think you guys could just turn it by the time Pudge comes in range to hook. He happens to miss the hook, but you just, like, don't even need to present those opportunities to him. You chase a little bit, but you give up. I think you keep going. You used hook already, right? So the most you can do is rot you, and if he does that, then you can, like, if he starts getting a little closer, then you can. Or you can just start hitting Pudge instead. Because, again, best you can do is walk up to you and rot. And if you had bought boots instead at this point, like instead of buying this circlet, save for boots, instead of buying this magic stick and getting boots, you might have an easier time chasing. So that's why I really like fast boots on Dazzle and a fast, like, medallion or something. It just, like, gives you a lot more aggressive potential to chase people down with this Q. And even if you don't kill them, harassing out 50% of their health alone, one spell on a support, a 5-position support, that is having a lot of impact on the lane. Stood there to pull, it looks like, but then decided to get the rune instead. I'm okay with that choice. It is a little scary for you, but works out. And then I just like, I think you're gonna buy this, but I don't love it. What are we at? 55 minutes? If I don't pause, we'll make an hour, averaging half an hour for both. You do connect the pull, but now see how it's scary? Alright, I actually gonna plug my own video, right? So one of the first videos I did on Dota, actually that's not true, but one of the first more like analysis style was a while ago, so it's a little dated, but it was actually a Dazzle game I played. And the audio's not as good there. I think I've improved it since then. But see how you like use it when he's coming to attack you, and you know he's going to attack you, right? You're in a bad position here. Random tip for support players and carries to an extent, but there are certain trees you want to cut when you use tangos. So this tree is one of them. On the dire side there's more. So this tree, and this tree, and down here it is this tree that you want to cut. The reason being, see what's happening? Slardar is coming to running at you, and you want to get back to your tower safely, so you run all the way this way to get back to tower, giving them all this time to chase you, and it's scary. Whereas if you cut this tree, you can just like run through, right? You're safe immediately. And you do have to be careful a bit of Pudge hooking you, so maybe like cut through this way. In this particular instance, I suppose running this way might actually be better for you. It's a tough call, actually. In this case, it might, because I think he'll stun you and then Pudge hooks you. Although in that case, maybe you then like run through this way if you had cut this tree. But in other matchups, it'll probably be better for you to like just run through here. So I'm just gonna throw out that tip for you to like, you don't have to like specifically like, you're at full health, so there's no reason you would have tangoed. But if you're low and you're about to use a tango, instead of eating say this tree or like one of these, try to like walk over here and eat some of these. So that's this one, this one, this one, or this one. And if your teammate has a quelling blade, he can also cut those for you if you ask. And also if you want to try to do the hard pulls, cut some of these, like these trees will help you do it. On this camp, you actually don't have to do any on this camp, balance reasons. But anyways, my original point was you're using this and you're gonna walk away, but he's actually faster than you, even with slow, because he has sprint. So now you're not gonna have a chance to turn around to refresh it, and especially because now they nerfed him a bit and this costs more, you really need to make sure you're getting the use out of the spell and refreshing it. So I would prefer you run away first, and now that he has turned around, now you use it and chase him a bit. In this case, you don't have to do it because you know Pudge is right there, so maybe you're not going to get as far. But in other cases, when it comes up, I think using it there, against Slardar specifically, I would know that with his sprint, he's still going to be faster than you because you don't have boots yet either. So he has boots and sprint. So even if you slow him a little bit, like he's still way faster than you. If you had boots instead, maybe. But since you don't, against other heroes it might be worthwhile, but I really would be a big fan of you just running away first. Like in this case, against other matchups actually, you would run into this tree, and then when they like, oh, I can't chase him under tower, bam, you hit them with a Q, you walk out and hit them, and when they try to turn around, they're like, oh, he's hitting me, coming back around, boom, you're just under the tower again. That's how you like make effective use of that Q. Dark Willow is here, so you should be careful. Okay, Ricky's gonna come top. I don't know if it was necessary quite yet. Dark Willow you don't like to Q too much because she can go into Shadow Realm and wait out most of that duration. So like she'll get hit by an auto attack, and then when the next one is incoming, she'll use it to evade it, and then by the time it fades, 5 seconds, right? So you would have to have multiple levels of Q up to like, yeah, at least level 3, and you have to be like right next to her and immediately hit her to refresh it. So against Dark Willow, she's not the best target. Pudge right now is still... Oh, I forgot to put this down. Whatever. It's not a big deal. This is okay. You guys are letting him farm. I would look to pull now that Ricky's here. Or maybe tell Ricky to do it. Since he's invis, right? They can't see him if he's gone. Whether he's here or not, they don't know. Whereas they can specifically see if you're here or not. Okay, I like that. Smoke clouds before she uses her W. That's a mistake on her part. She should have used W. Works out for you, though. You guys both come to Shrine. I guess that's okay. You should, in this case, it's... You heal most of it, but if you swapped out your circlet and put them all back in, you would full heal. It's like a slight efficiency thing. In this case, not a huge deal. I still don't love this purchase, though. At least you buy the boots first.
Radiant's bottom towers seen better days.
Pulling is good. The idea of pulling, I thought you were pulling to like start denying some of these creeps, which would be good. If you're just pulling to farm those camps, I guess that's alright. But now the creep balance is gonna like super swing back in their favor. If you hadn't pulled, then these creeps would have been like they would have met somewhere a bit more around here, which would have been a nice position for you guys. But now instead, now that you healed and didn't like pull through, I guess maybe you were scared because you saw them a bit, but he's really low actually. So I don't think you have to be scared of like at least attempting the pull through. But by healing it up instead, now the tower's hitting all these creeps, and you're about to get a second wave of creeps, and it's going to immediately like rubber band back to their side. And like you can't get kills under this tower. It's really hard for you guys to dive because they have a stun. So like say Ursa runs in, he gets stunned, they back off, tower kills him, or he like gets hooked further in or something like that. It's hard to get kills if it's on their side. So you wanted to like keep it balanced around here so that they're constantly at risk of dying. We're about done with this one too. It's okay actually against Pudge. I'll leave it. I think 3-1-1 would have been a lot better. I just think like 20 damage, 6 targets. So if they're standing in there, you're adding like 100 more damage or something, right? Well, more like between 80 and 100, right? So I'm not great with math if they're right on top of it, but we're doing like a little more than 100 extra damage. Versus Q going between 28 to 40 and 6 seconds of duration, which is also going to be about 100 damage, and that's not even taking into account the like getting it refreshed or the slow. That it's only 2%, yeah, but like any bit helps Ursa chase him down, right? I just think it adds more for you.
Radiant's mid tower's coming apart.
Stacking again. Who's gonna clear this? It's really hard. You have to ask Underlord to come up here or something. And it also puts you, if you were insistent on stacking this camp, instead of pulling it up, you should pull it sideways so that you're in position for the rune. I definitely think you should be able to get this. I think you can, honestly, it's a little close. If you had built Medallion instead or something, right? I feel like there's actually a chance you can man fight Pudge in a one-on-one because he's going to be damaging himself, and you have Grave. So as long as you don't get burst by the hook for the kill, although granted, usually he would get Flesh Heap, so that would be harder. And it's not like you can specifically know. But usually they only get one if they do it. If you had level 3 Q, 5 seconds on your heal, or 5-second extra duration on your Grave. So you might still die, but I really feel like you might be able to get the kill. And in that time, someone can TP in to help you, or Ursa runs in to help you, and then finishes it off. And trading your life for a kill for Ursa is pretty good as a support. That's 10 minutes. Granted, this wasn't enough to see like whether you would win the game or not. You do win this one actually, but like ironically, you stacked more in this game, and like it was less important in this game. And I think it's because the lane kept pushing like this, so you felt like you had more space to stack. Whereas in the other game, like it was actually in a relatively good position for you. Actually, was it? Alchemist did push it out a couple times with his Q, so I'm not totally sure. I don't remember specifically, but I noticed it more in this game, I guess, that the creep wave kept like rubber banding back and forth, which Dazzle can do if he like uses heal too much, I think. And in both games, I think it's a game where you want it to stay like a little more back. And if you were going to stack camps this game, I think mixing it up a little more instead of stacking the hard camp, come and do this one. Because you have to ask yourself, who's going to clear this camp if I stack it so much? And in this case, Kanka could do it if he rotates top. Or Underlord's also really good at it. But does that happen in this MMR? I'm like, genuinely, I'm not sure. Can you, like, if you're able to ask your team, like, hey, come clear the stack, and that actually happens, then I guess it's fine. But couldn't you also do that with like a camp that's safer, right? And is not at such risk of letting them pull and immediately pull the lane back into their favor. This is just like a risky one to do if you cannot make use of it between the two of you, like your support and your carry. Same with this one, but this one it's a little easier to pull if you get your carry to like cut these and pull. It's a little easier to do it that one than it is to do this one. This one's just a little harder. It's hard to explain why. Like, I don't have a specific reason why it's harder. It just feels harder. I think it's because even if you cut these trees, it's really difficult to get this pull. It like always has to be this pull, and this pull is very easily contested. Whereas this pull is quite easy if you cut the trees, and this pull is like same as the other one. It's like very easily contested and difficult to do. Because like it's so close to seeing, like if these creeps see any other creeps, it's very difficult to distract them. And this diagonal pull is just like a lot harder on this camp now that they've like patched in stuff. So yeah, what can I recommend? Because we've already covered for about an hour, pointing out flaws and stuff. I guess I'll still summarize a bit. Just not playing aggressively enough on Dazzle. Like, if you like this guy, and I like him too, right? He's pretty cool. But the reason I like him is because people bully the 5 support, right? Like, useless, all you do is buy wards. But Dazzle just runs at people with his Q. He's so good level 1. Level 1, level 3, level 5. I think early game, he's just really good. And I think because of his ultimate, which reduces cooldown, we didn't really get to that portion of the game because I only focused on the first 5 minutes. But because of his cooldown reduction, I love cooldown reduction talents. Actually, tell you what, we'll back out of this and take a look at your talents and late game choices and talk about that a bit. But before going into that, because of the cooldown reduction, I think he just gets a lot of value out of any items he builds. Like Medallion's really good, you can constantly get that going, or like if you get mech, all that stuff. I think those are just really nice. So if I had to recommend a starting build nowadays, if you have a laner like Ursa, a Blight Stone to start can be really nice, really greedy. And I think greedy stuff can pay off more in low MMR games, since they're not expecting it as much, I guess. And you can punish people. Like, if you really think this is such a bad MMR, then you should abuse it. Like, when I play with lower MMR friends, even if I'm on, like, Warlock or someone, I'm just running at people, right-clicking them. Like, they don't know what to do. Like, they're so surprised. They're like, "How is he? Why am I so low?" It's because I constantly auto attack and get it off. And Dazzle is great at it. He's such a good attack animation. Starting with something like 2 tangos and then sharing them with mid. A salve if it's a hard lane. Maybe 1 mango. The wards and courier sentries if you need it. So most games I'm not fortunate enough to be able to like buy a Blight Stone to start, but it doesn't matter. You can still bully people out with your Q. But in games where like you might be able to, like against Axe, I really try to get it because he cuts so early, but you can do a lot of damage and chase him down with Q and a Blight Stone. I really try to squeeze it into my build a bit. You can get away with a little less tangos. Like if you only buy 1 set of tangos, you can almost get away with it on Dazzle because he has a heal. But if that's the case, you need to have like a mango or a clarity or something. But I think those would be a lot better starting items than like the circlet stuff that you've been building. And then after that, building medallion. I tend to rush it a lot. If I'm doing well, I rush medallion. Otherwise, I might get, if it's going like even-ish, I get the boots first. Maybe finish arcanes if we happen to like suddenly get a huge burst of gold. Earn first if you need it. The downside of Earn is that it doesn't really benefit from your cooldown reduction, right? You really like active items like arcanes, medallion, mech, stuff that like gets that cooldown reduction. Okay, we're gonna take a look at your talents real quick and your later game build. Like overall, this is fine, right? But it's just a little this is really unnecessary. Where is it? I'm surprised you're getting the Mirana kill. She should be the hardest one because she can leap. So yeah, I've talked enough about maxing Q. I like having at least 1 point in Shallow Grave. I did experiment a bit with like 2 points in heal, but I just feel like the trade-off between like a little bit of a better heal versus like literally saving someone for 5 seconds, even though it's a 60-second cooldown at level 1, I just think it's like so good. And sometimes I max out this before Grave, but a lot of times I've been maybe getting 2 points in heal and then maxing Grave first, just because having it on 18 seconds plus your ultimate, so it's like 15 or lower. It's just like it's really nice to have pretty early, especially if you're gonna like push as a team. 75 damage. What's the alternative? I think it's like health. I'm okay with 75 damage. Cast range, that's good. I don't know what else you would have gotten. Let's check the other game. Board. 75 damage, cast range, poison touch DPS. Yeah, that's what I like to do. I forget his his alternatives. Yeah, XP talent, if it's like a rough game or you guys are, well, if you're doing really well, I'd be greedy. I get 75 damage a lot because I'm a greedy player, but if it's a really rough game, you might need the, well, it's not like you have that great of talents. I might take 75 damage no matter what, actually. I don't know, it's a tough call. What are the trends? A lot of people get the XP. I mean, that kind of makes sense. A lot of XP talents on support, excuse me, are pretty good. But because I'm a greedy player that likes to go for kills, and I think you could get away with it at your MMR too. A lot of people get it. It's a little more balanced here. I'd be greedy and get 75 damage. I'm part of this like percentage here, but yeah, I'll leave it up to you there. I think cast range is just a lot better than 30. Like this is like 1.5 more levels in your ability, which I just don't think is that good compared to like being able to grave from further. Movement speed is nice sometimes, but again, I'm greedy. I like kills, so I'm also okay with this. Then this one, it kind of depends. If you have teams that can make use of the bad juju, then I think that's good. Otherwise, just being able to slow, like with Ursa, I think that's pretty nice. Ursa makes use of both, but Ursa has a problem with getting kited a lot. So being able to slow for him is really nice. And then just imagine that for whatever other carry heroes you have, right? If they are getting kited a lot, or you need to kite, like they're running at you and you need them to like, whoa, slow down, then yeah, that's pretty good. Otherwise, if you guys are like totally dominating, no one's having a problem getting kited, then yeah, this could be a little bit better. Yeah, Yeah. So, in conclusion, I think Dazzle, great hero. I think you could definitely climb out with him because I think you can surprise people with some early kills if you mix up the way you've been playing a bit by put more emphasis on your Q and look to run people down. You might die a little bit when you start, like not understanding like your limits and trying to experiment with chasing people down and killing them. But I think that's a better way to play Dazzle, especially at these lower MMRs, right, where it's easier to see the impact of getting kills, I guess. And it's easier to rally your team around getting kills and help them out through kills, even though that's not always the best, right? Sometimes stacking for an alchemist is the best, but it's harder to see, I guess, at this MMR, especially for your teammates, and they might have an easier time understanding, oh, we should be playing together because we're killing them so easily and stuff like that. So I just feel like, let's see, same logic I applied. If you're doing really well, go for a medallion pretty quickly. Otherwise, if it's a little more even, get boots so that you're a little more mobile, can stack easier, can chase people down solo with your Q. Just try to play a little more aggressively. Figure out who in the lane you should be focusing if you have to pick one, right? Try to bully one person out at a time. That's generally the way to go. The enemy's plan is to like get rid of you and then focus the carry, and yours is kind of the same. Focus whoever is easier, I guess. It kind of depends. It doesn't really matter if it's the offlaner or support for you. If it's an even choice, go for the offlaner. Otherwise, figure out which one's easier, bully them out, and then bully the other guy out. But then honestly, if you just like have a stronger start on Dazzle, you're getting kills with your Q. I think all your mid game and late game stuff will just come easier because even if you make a mistake, it won't be as punishing because you'll just be more ahead from having kills. So I think really emphasize the beginning, the starting laning these first 10 minutes, and if you can have a good impact there, you'll have a much better impact later. And again, I do have a Dazzle video, which, you know, self plug, I guess, again, but that one's a little harder to watch, I think, because the mic cuts out every now and then towards the end of my sentence. I think I fixed that setting on my mic now, but I do think the logic was there about like a lot of my positioning later game, like staying in spots for graves, good positioning, like that stuff I described on the Pudge hook, right? Knowing which side to be on. There's a bit of stuff of that in my game as well, where like because I'm against certain melee heroes, I'm like in the trees, so on and so forth. I do think maybe that could help you if you feel like watching another super long video. That game also had more explanation in the draft, explaining what my win condition was as Dazzle, what I had to do, and then how I did that throughout the game. But it's hard to watch, so you know you don't really have to watch it. That's it. Thanks for watching this one if you watched the whole thing. Hopefully it was helpful. If not, feel free to tell me that it wasn't helpful and tell me what I could do better. That would be great, because I want to make helpful videos. So if they're not helpful, let me know. That's it. Thanks.